See you later, Tony. Ladder looks good. In place properly. Crew standing by. Met properly. Morning.
Welcome aboard, pilot.
Good morning, Captain.
Details about the ship.
Thank you.
Her maneuvering characteristics. She's single screw, right-handed. Dead slow is 5 knots. She's got good stern power with little delay. Draft is 9 meters on even keel. We're on dead slow at the moment, steering 210. Right now, we're half a mile south of the fairway buoy, and the second mate has the com. Like some coffee, pilot?
Oh, yes, please. White one sugar.
Hello, this is the bridge. Can we have some coffee, please, with white and sugar?
Are there any defects or problems with how she handles?
Yes. Although she's right-handed, it's difficult to predict which way she'll go with transverse thrust when going astern. And she's difficult to steady up when there's a swing on.
Thank you, Captain. I'll bear that in mind when returning. Have you received your berthing details?
Yes, we have.
Unfortunately, there's been a slight change of plan. We're not berthing you on South Mole now, and there's another ship in at your berth. So meanwhile, we'll use tug lines. We'll make the bow tug fast early and the stern tug just before we swing. Now, we need to swing here, and we'll go in stern first to your berth.
Right.
While we're waiting in the lay-by berth, I suggest we have a headline, a stern line, and springs fore and aft. Now, are there any questions you or your bridge team may have for me?
Yes. Do the mooring gangs know about the berth changes?
They do, and everything's okay. So are you happy for me to have conduct?
Certainly, pilot. Pilot has the com.
Half ahead, course 210.
Half ahead, course 210 it is.
That's fine. Let's stop it there for the moment. There are 2 elements vital to you both when working together. One lies in planning, the detailed information that passes between you. The other is effective communication that must exist between you.
Where communication is concerned, a pilot should be familiar with IMO's standard marine communication phrases, using them in appropriate situations during radio contact, as well as verbal exchanges on the bridge. Speech should be simple, clear, and concise.
Communication on board between the pilot and the bridge watch-keeping personnel should be conducted in English or in a language that's common to all those involved in the operation.
When a pilot is communicating to parties external to the ship, such as tugs or linesmen, and is unable to communicate in English, or a language that can be understood on the bridge, the pilot should, as soon as is practicable, explain what was said to enable the bridge personnel to monitor any subsequent actions taken by those external parties.
As far as exchanging information is concerned, each act of pilotage should begin in this manner. The master and pilot discussing navigational procedures, local conditions and rules, and the ship's characteristics. Now, the information exchange should be generally maintained for the duration of the pilotage, the content being determined by the specific demands of the pilotage operation.
A pilot authority should develop a standard exchange of information, their pilots having available information cards, forms, checklists, or any other memory aid to ensure essential exchange items are covered. Whatever is used should be easy to understand, but these aids should only ever assist, not be a substitute for, verbal information.
How do you appraise a ship when coming aboard?
I can assess a vessel as I approach her, and can usually tell how efficiently a ship's being run soon after being on board. Even an old ship needs to be well maintained, its master and crew professional, and it's how they are, how they react with one another, and how competent they are that emerges pretty rapidly. I remember a recent situation. I was climbing a pilot's ladder, and an accommodation ladder was being put over the ship's side, hitting me on the head. Well, apart from nearly being concussed, I had a hard job not falling into the sea. It could have killed me.
Captain?
You can tell quite a lot even before the pilot boards. Whether he arrives on time, how the pilot boat is handled, whether he looks smart, things like that. Once he's on the bridge, it doesn't take very long to identify a pilot's qualities or deficiencies. His ability to communicate, how he relays his instructions, the confidence with which he does his job.
You're both invariably under pressure, and time is frequently an issue, so you're rapidly appraising each other's professionalism. But supposing something goes wrong with the port entry? You, pilot, may have done everything correctly, made your judgments true and proper, but the weather suddenly changes. The ship develops a problem. And you, captain, from your side, all is functioning satisfactorily and as it should be, but your ship appears out of position. Now, it's not a port you've been to before, but you've done your homework, prepared a good passage plan, and then, because you've been monitoring the progress of the ship, something tells you all is not well. Do you intervene? And if so, when?
From the moment a pilot steps onto the bridge, the master has a right to ask questions. And if he feels unhappy with the way these are answered and how the pilotage is developing, he then has the right to intervene and make a judgment on withdrawing the con. There are no hard and fast rules for the master to take such action, or at what point he should do so. However, if a ship has a passage plan and a resulting mutual plan, which both the pilot and master have agreed, but which the pilot is subsequently seen not to adhere to, then intervention can be carried out in confidence by the master or officer of the watch.
For both masters and pilots, it's also important to consider the cultural factor. In some cultures, it's regarded as bad manners to seemingly encroach on what's supposed to be another's area of responsibility.
In the other areas, from time to time, you must pay attention to the pilot's work. That is necessary all the time. We are looking all the time for this one, but especially in the countries like Africa or South Asia or something like that. That is more necessary to pay attention to what is the pilot doing.
Yeah, you know, a lot of these masters are approaching the shore here. First land they've seen for sometimes, you know, a couple of weeks, 3 weeks sometimes. And some of them get a little bit nervous when they get within a couple of miles of land because they've spent the whole journey trying to keep away from it.
No job is the same from one day to the next, even in good conditions. The tide's different, the wind's different, the other traffic on the river is different. Everything's different, and emergencies crop up from time to time. So basically you have to be alert and don't treat the same job as the previous one.
Complacency can creep in after a while, and particularly if you end up doing the same ship to the same berth on consecutive occasions, you can get caught out expecting it to go the same way. It doesn't always work like that. So, yeah, I'd say vigilance is probably one of the things that you have to keep reminding yourself, and sometimes, you know, you do get caught out.
There's obviously situations where there is occurrences do occur, but that's the reason why we're there, to prevent accidents, and we provide a safety service. Because we obviously know the local waters, and with our local knowledge, and also our local communication as well, which is a big factor when we're coming into the port. We work also very closely with the other port services within the port, the Tees Foy boatmen, and also the tug company, and the VTS, the assistant harbour masters working in the port control. And we're all a close-knit community. We have to communicate with each other regularly to ensure a smooth operation.
It was a nightmare. Frankly, the pilot used slack helm orders. When saying come to 20, the helmsman thought he meant starboard 20, but the pilot had actually meant steer 020. The ship then sheared, and being a laden bulk carrier, it proved impossible to get her straight or stop her before she hit the Tasman Bridge. 12 people were killed.
The teaching points to learn from this accident essentially revolve around the lack of communication between the pilot and the bridge team, the lack of clarity in the pilot's orders causing the bridge team to respond one way when the pilot meant something completely different. Whilst a ship at sea can feel the ocean to be a big place and daily life on a long passage routine, a vessel approaching a port can rapidly find themselves in the midst of heavy and congested shipping traffic. It therefore cannot be emphasized strongly enough that a master and his team must remain alert during a pilotage. They must ensure they carry out the pilot's instructions effectively, query them if necessary, and monitor the progress of the ship at all times.
About time too, it's late. Been already waiting over an hour.
Apologies for my lateness, Captain.
Would you like some tea or coffee?
Coffee, please.
Yeah, coffee for the pilot. How my berth-to-berth voyage plan?
Very good. Captain, there is an outgoing ship approaching the breakwater. Starboard 20, slow ahead.
You're taking contact?
Yes. Yes.
But what about details about my ship's maneuvering characteristics? Don't you want them?
Captain, we must make hard starboard now. Hard starboard. Yeah.
Slow ahead.
Increase engine speed, half ahead.
Half ahead.
Rate of turn is too slow. I don't think we're going to clear the breakwater. And what about this other ship?
What's the situation, pilot?
Other ship will wait. No problem.
Pilot, we're turning too slowly. The breakwater.
Aló, Torre, sí. ¿Qué es lo que pasa con el otro barco? Sí, tenemos otro barco que está encima de nosotros casi. Sí. Tienen que seguir esperando, que nosotros estamos casi pasando ya. Nos quedan 10 minutos, 10-15 minutos y estamos listos. Ya. Decrease speed. Slow ahead.
Engine speed decreased. Slow ahead. Slow ahead.
We are not going to make this turn. We need full ahead.
Engines.
And stop there. Well, if you were going to intervene, you've left it too late. You've hit the breakwater and in serious trouble. While frustrated by Carlos's lateness, you didn't call for master-pilot exchange, allowing Carlos the con without being fully in the picture as to the state of the situation. Of course, relieving a pilot of the con is a serious decision.
With a few exceptions, for instance, Panama,
the legal position is that even when the compulsory pilot is on board and has the con, the master is still in charge of the vessel and is ultimately responsible for its safety. Thus, although he must delegate the conduct and navigation to the pilot, the master must be ready to intervene and, in the case of serious danger, be ready to take the navigation out of the hands of the pilot. However, if he takes this step, he must be ready to show justification.
in the past, most pilots held foreign-going master certificates and had many years of seafaring experience. In today's world, there is a great demand for people with master certificates to man growing fleets and offshore industries, to work in maritime administrations, surveying, commerce and insurance. So in some ports, the pilot who joins a ship may not have the qualifications and experience one might have expected in the past. Therefore, additional consideration and support may be needed if the pilot is less experienced.
Pilots and masters, a relationship based on mutual trust and professionalism, can no better be expressed than by a description included in the International Maritime Organization's document on pilotage. Estuary navigation, manoeuvring in confined waters, ports or canals, demands great nautical skill. Merchant vessels with ever larger dimensions have to be safely guided through narrow waterways, often in heavy traffic. The pilot acts as the partner of the captain, coping with this demanding role, which requires long experience as well as specific knowledge of the vessel and the estuary. Within a very short space of time, pilots have to acquaint themselves with the characteristics and manoeuvring of an unfamiliar vessel, while taking weather conditions, currents and tides into account, before setting course and giving instructions to sail. Whilst a master should never relax his or her attentions when entering a port, the relationship with the pilot is vital to the efficiency and safety of the ship. And if all between them is both professional and exemplary, it's with a note of reassurance the whole of the bridge team hear the words, "Pilot on board."